Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Legends of Tomorrow Season 6 review series. And today I am going to be talking about Episode 5, The Satanist Apprentice, which I've just finished watching. And this episode was pretty much a hit and miss for me. There wasn't really a lot to get my teeth into. I wouldn't necessarily say I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say I disliked it either. It was just typical Legends of Tomorrow humour. Not even good humour at best, and this just seemed like another filler to me. I enjoyed the last episode. I thought that was pretty decent, where we saw Mick Rory take the lead. I quite enjoyed that one a lot, and I was hoping that with episode 5 they would start to get itself back on its feet and put the show back on the right path, but unfortunately that didn't happen here. There was too much focus on Astra. Nothing against her. I think she's a decent character in her own right. But it was just too much silliness. And at one point over the course of this episode, it went into full-on Disney animation. And I'm not hating on Disney. Some Disney stuff I actually enjoy. But it didn't work for me in this one. Just didn't like this episode one bit. The only thing that I liked about this episode, which was quite enjoyable, and it's been the glue that's been holding this season together so far, has been the stuff that's been going on with Sarah, ever since she got abducted back at the end of season 5. That's been the only strong bit of storytelling that has been going on in season 6 so far, and it's the only bit of storytelling that I'm holding on for dear life. But other than that, I didn't like this episode a lot. I wouldn't say I hated it, because hate's quite a strong word. Just didn't care for it much. Just felt like another pointless filler. And, John Constantine, he's usually the guy who comes in and saves the day with a good episode. And, I love Matt Ryan, but I'm just not really enjoying the way Constantine is being written in the last few seasons. Usually when you have Constantine on the show, no matter how bad the episode is, Constantine usually carries it. He didn't carry it in this one for me, which is a shame really, because Constantine, when he's written well, he's an amazing character, and I love Matt Ryan, but I just wasn't feeling it in this episode. But enough about that. We're going to get straight into it. We're going to talk about episode 5, The Satanist Apprentice. So this episode starts off with Astra hitting with a string of bad luck and everything that's just going wrong does, and more. We also see she's broke, and the house that she's staying in is in disrepair, and John is off with the legends once again and can't seem to be bothered to stop and fix anything that's going on in the house. Ultimately, she goes into the basement to look for antiques she can sell, but stumbles across her mum's old music journal and a portrait of Aleister Crowley, which has his soul trapped inside of it. Crowley convinces her to free him in exchange for teaching her magic, but the longer their relationship goes, the more obvious it is that he is actually manipulating her and sharing only tidbits of information and trying to get her to help him. Crowley, it is revealed, is obsessed with finding the source of a powerful space magic. We then see John return home to confront her, and Astra casts a spell, and John's body is possessed by Crowley, with John replacing Crowley in the portrait. When some of the other legends come to crash at the house following the events of the last episode, they ask too many questions, and Astra loses it by trapping him inside of household objects. Finally, Crowley tells Astra that in order to teach her true powerful magic, he needs the soul of a living human being. Astra calls over an old man who lives in the neighbourhood and had made a comment at her at the beginning of the episode. That's the old guy we saw with the dog. Before she can take his life, however, she balks, having been talked out of it by the legends, trapped inside of various household items. Crowley steps in though and tears the man's heart out, stealing his soul and significantly increasing his power. Now Astra is unable to undo the spell she cast, trapping John in the portrait, and also unable to subdue Crowley. He transformed the manor into a Disney-style animated of castle, making Astra a princess in distress. This is the part I didn't like, where everything just went off animation like Disney. I love Disney, but cartoons, but this didn't do it for me. But she calls on the legends' help, and John tells her about a spell that Astra's mum had written, which would strip everyone and everything in the vicinity of magic influence. She sings it animated Princess Disney style, and it works, changing the world back to normal and casting Crowley back into the portrait and restoring the legends. Unfortunately, it also strips John Constantine of his powers. We then see him and Astra decide to figure out how to move forward together. Throughout all of this, who are periodically cutting back to Sarah in space, who has still been kidnapped by the aliens, she meets a man called Bishop, who we saw at the end of the last episode, who identifies himself as the one responsible for collecting the various aliens. He wants to create a human-alien hybrid that will allow humanity to exist in any environment so they can leave Earth when the resources are depleted and relocate to the stars. Bishop, with his army of Ava clones, sound familiar? Claims to have been the creators of the Avas and says that none of them have souls and that Sarah is fooling herself if she thinks her relationship with Ava is real. He tells Sarah that Avas have synthetic personalities complete with likes and interests that predetermines, suggested that anything Ava might fall in love with Sarah. While he's ranting about all of this, he cures Sarah of her poisoning, but she still won't tell him anything he needs to know. She tries to appeal to the Ava clone, acting as her doctor to help free herself, but the clone says she can't disobey Bishop's orders because of what her programming involves. Later that night, we see she returns to free Sarah, and the two head to the crashed ship where Ava clone gives Sarah a fuel cell power to power it, so they can get away. When they arrive, however, Bishop follows shortly after, revealing that the Ava clone has been working for him the whole time because he needed Sarah to bring him to the ship. While he would have preferred having living specimens, he says there are computer backups of the chambers that were holding the prisoners, including information about their biology. Sarah attacks and defeats him, snapping his neck, but is then hit with a tranq darts from the Ava clone, and when she wakes up, Bishop is there again, just fine and ready to continue their conversation, and Sarah is back to where she started, and that pretty much ends episode 5. Overall, not the best of episodes. I thought episode 4 was much better and a lot more stronger, and it's a real shame that episode 5 didn't keep that momentum going. As I said already, the only thing that I enjoyed about this episode was the whole stuff that's going on with Sarah. I quite enjoyed that a lot, and that's the only serious thing that's going on in Season 6 so far. But other than that, didn't care a lot for this episode, and hoping that Episode 6 will be a lot better. But we'll see. I have been wrong before. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you think of Episode 5? Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on most of this episode being focused on Astra? Did you enjoy that aspect of it? What was your thoughts on part of the episode turning into Disney animation? Did you enjoy that one? And also, what's your thoughts on Bishop holding Sarah captive? Do you think there might be some sort of payoff to this? And also, how do you think Sarah will eventually escape? And do you think the legends will eventually find her? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Legends of Tomorrow Season 6 review series, where I am going to be talking about Episode 6, which I am really hoping it's going to be much better than this one, so fingers crossed for that, and let's hope Episode 6 is a really good one. So until next time, take care everybody, and stay safe, and once again, thanks for listening.